So this morning we're going to start a 4-part series that's going to lead us to our revival. The actual theme of our revival this year is going to be revival.
Amen.
What we're going to focus on with this series is we're going to focus on how Israel fell through idol worship, and then how God revived them. Now, most of this series is going to come from the book of Exodus, the book of Ezekiel. Some, as you see this morning, we're talking about a little bit of stuff in Kings. We'll also have some stuff in Revelation that we're going to look at. But what we're going to do with this series is we're going to explore the topic of idol worship. And this morning we're going to start this series by talking about something that many people in the church just don't want to talk about. Idols of worship. The idols of worship was the downfall of the nation of Israel. Well, we use many different things throughout our worship service. When those things begin to become necessary for us to worship, they have become an idol. An idol is anything that takes God's place in our hearts. And the 10 Commandments in the book of Exodus in chapter 20, we're given the 10 Commandments in verses 3 and 4, we read, "You shall have no other gods before me. You shall not make for yourself an idol in the form of anything in heaven above, or on the earth beneath, or in the waters below."
Amen.
Now, God told us that nothing should be placed before Him in our hearts or in our minds. When an object that we have in worship is removed or changed, and we get upset or mad or offended, that object has become an idol in our hearts. When an object in our worship becomes more important than the worship itself, it's become an idol. When someone changes or moves or removes an object, it makes us mad or offends us or upsets us, that object has become an idol. And it's absolutely a must that we remove anything that has become an idol in our hearts. We need to refocus our worship on God and His Son, our Savior, Jesus Christ. And Tony Evans wrote, said in the movie Lily of the Field, starring Sidney Poitier, there was a businessman in town who was an atheist. He didn't believe in God. However, one day when the town was coming together to build a new chapel for the nuns, he got involved working on the chapel. Sidney Poitier's character asked the guy, says, "I thought you were an atheist." The businessman replied, "Well, I am. But I don't understand. You're building a house for God." "Yes, I am," he replied. He says, "Well, why would you do that if you're an atheist?" "Just in case." That's what we do. We keep other gods in our back pocket just in case God doesn't work out. We keep idols tucked away. We hang on to certain people, places, or things just to cover our backs in the event that God doesn't work out. In the Bible, God was never satisfied with partial commitment. When His people sought to follow Him and held on to the gods of their culture, He insisted on complete commitment and dependence on Him as the one only true God. What Evans wrote is also reflected in our worship. We hang on to certain ideas or things or traditions just in case. We tend to get upset when one of those things is changed. When something turns into an idol of worship, it can cause many different problems. It can cause anger, bitterness, gossip, hurt feelings, and you just continue to list the negative things that can be caused when something's an idol of worship. And when this happens, we need to realize that object, that idea that tradition to become an idol and deal with it. So let's look at a problem of an idol we find in the Bible. We see how the Israelites followed the desires of their heart. In Exodus 32, verses 1 through 5, we read, "So when the people saw that Moses was so long in coming down from the mountain, they gathered around Aaron and said, 'Come, make us gods who will go before us. As for this fellow Moses who brought us out of Egypt, we don't know what's happened to him.' Aaron answered them, 'Take off the gold earrings that your wives, your sons, and your daughters are wearing and bring them to me.' So all the people took off their earrings and brought them to Aaron. He took what they handed to him and made into an idol cast in the shape of a calf, fastening it with a tool. Then they said, 'These are your gods, O Israel, who brought you up out of Egypt.' When Aaron saw this, he built an altar in front of the calf and announced, 'Tomorrow there will be a festival to the Lord.'" After all the Israelites had witnessed God do, after all the plagues that they witnessed him bring on Egypt, after all the miracles that they witnessed him to do for them as they came up out of slavery, they still didn't understand true worship.
Amen.
They still didn't understand how God worked. Even though God had rescued them from slavery, He had protected them on their journey to the base of the mountain, they still turned to an idol. They needed a visible God to worship. So they enticed Aaron, who was supposed to be their spiritual guide, their spiritual leader, to make an idol for them to worship. And what we need to understand is that that is a sin, because we don't need anything visible to worship God.
Amen.
Well, it's nice to have a beautiful church building. It's nice to have comfortable furniture to sit in. It's nice to have other things. None of it is necessary for us to worship. But as we see in this passage, the calf wasn't even enough for them to worship. Aaron had to build an altar for sacrifices. Not only did the Israelites desire an idol, but now they desired furniture to help them worship the idol. They had completely abandoned the true worship of God in order to fulfill the desires of their heart. Not only did they desire the idol and an altar, but their hearts were more focused on the object of worship than the purpose of worship. Doesn't matter what the object is, be it a golden calf, be it an altar, be it a pulpit, be it a piano, whatever the idol is. If the object of worship is more important than the worship itself, it is an idol.
Amen.
Well, not only did the Israelites want a visible God to worship, but they focused more on their leader Moses instead of their true leader. Moses had went up on a mountain. He'd been there for about 40 days. They didn't know what had happened to him. 40 days. It's not a very long time, is it? They didn't know what had happened to him. So instead of focusing on God's leadership, they were more focused on Moses'. Instead of focusing and thinking about the message that Moses was receiving from God, they focused on his absence. There's no one there to lead them. The same can be said for the church. The people in the church focus more on the minister and his leadership when they should be focusing on Christ's leadership. See, Christ is the true leader of the church. The minister is just the Moses of the church, who's God's chosen servant and appointed spiritual guide. Moses was following God, the people were following their desires. And it happens in the church way too often. Instead, we need to focus on where Christ is leading us, not the desires of our heart. There are many, many other examples in the Old Testament of idol worship. But every time you read in the Old Testament about any place where anybody's worshiping an idol, there's going to be punishment for that worship. When an object or an idea becomes the desire of our heart, it becomes an idol. When we desire something visible in order to worship God, we're desiring an idol. When our attitude or our mood at church is dependent on the things in our church, those things have become an idol. And when idols begin to take control of our heart, we pay a price. There is a result for idol worship. So let's look at what happened to the Israelites, continuing in Exodus 32, verses 19 through 23. It says, when Moses approached the camp and saw the calf and the dancing, his anger burned. And he threw the tablets out of his hand, breaking them to pieces at the foot of the mountain. He took the calf they had made and burned it in the fire. Then he ground it to powder, scattered it on the water, and made the Israelites drink it. He said to Aaron, what did these people do to you that you led them into such great sin? Do not be angry, my lord, Aaron answered. You know how prone these people are to evil. They said to me, make us gods who will go before us. As for this fellow Moses who brought us out of Egypt, we don't know what has happened to him. So I told them, whoever has any gold jewelry, take it off. Then they gave me the gold, and I threw it into the fire, and out came this calf. God had told Moses that he needed to get off the mountain and return to camp because the Israelites had become corrupt. They had begun to worship an idol. When Moses came down and he saw them worshiping this calf, he got pretty mad. He even went so far as to break the stone tablets that had the Ten Commandments that God had written on them with his own finger. He threw them to the ground. He broke them. Moses had a right to be mad because he knew that this idol that they were worshiping was wrong and that they were sinning against God. Moses understood that worshiping an object was a sin. He understood that visible things were not necessary for true worship. As a spiritual leader of Israel, Moses was angry, and rightfully so. But in his anger, he didn't sin. Instead, he destroyed the idol. And after destroying this object of worship, he went and he questioned Aaron, who had created it, and led the people in worship. Now, in typical human fashion, Aaron cast the blame on someone else. He blamed it on all the people. But he didn't bother to mention that he didn't do anything to change their minds. He didn't mention that it was his idea as to what to do. But not only that, but also as the usual human response, he lied about what had happened. He said that he threw the gold into the fire, and the fire turned the gold into the calf. Typical human fashion is somebody else's fault, and I had nothing to do with it. And we, like Aaron, can use whatever excuse we want. But if something has become an idol in our heart, we had better begin to remove it completely. When we get upset when something in our worship services moved or removed or changed, it is an idol. And idols have caused many churches to split.
Amen.
When a church splits for any reason other than poor spiritual leadership, it splits over an idol. And you can list whatever you might think of. It might be carpet, might be paint, pews, songbooks, songs, pictures on the wall, flowers, piano, instruments, pulpits, signs on the front door. Whatever you can think of to add to the list. When a church splits over it, or when somebody leaves the church because of it, for any other reason other than poor spiritual leadership, they're splitting or they are leaving because something has become an idol in their heart. They have something in their heart that has replaced true worship of our Lord and Savior. And when an object takes our mind off worshiping God, it has clearly become an idol. Now here's the thing. Something were to happen to our building, and I pray that it never does, but if it gets wiped out by something, and everything is destroyed or damaged, there is nothing in this building that we need to continue to worship Jesus Christ. There is nothing in this building that we absolutely have to have in order for us to gather to worship our Lord and Savior. And it's nice to have a beautiful building with heat in the winter, air conditioning in the summer. It's nice to have a comfortable place to sit while you're listening to me ramble for 45 minutes. I know that's what some of y'all are thinking. It's nice to have those things. It's nice to have nice things in our worship service, but nothing is necessary for us to truly worship God. And if that bothers you, if that offends you, or you disagree with that statement, you need to examine your heart, because something has become an idol. And idol worship is a sin, and God punishes sin. Continuing in Exodus 32, verses 33 through 35, it says, "The Lord replied to Moses, 'Whoever has sinned against me, I will blot out of my book. Now go, lead the people to the place I spoke of, and my angel will go before you. However, when the time comes for me to punish, I will punish them for their sin.' And the Lord struck the people with a plague because of what they did with the calf Aaron had made." God told Moses that he would punish the people, and he used a plague to do it. Christ will do the same for his church when idol worship takes place.
Amen.
Well, how does he punish the church? Well, he may cause the church not to grow. You're not going to grow because you have an idol. He may cause the church to lose their influence in the community. He may even allow the church to die. We have several descriptions of what Christ told that he would allow to happen to a church that wasn't following him as they should, that was worshiping idols, that was focused on idols in the book of Revelation in chapter 2 and 3. He told the church that he would remove their lampstands. Or he told another church that he would spit them out. And he told another church that he would even go as far as to fight against them. Whatever Christ does to punish us, to punish his church, He will do, and we will not miss it. So if we want to grow, we better get rid of any idols. If we want to have an influence in our community, we had better get rid of any idols. If we want to continue to exist as a church, we had better get rid of any idols. When we realize that something is an idol, something may be an idol, we had better deal with it. We had better combat idol worship. I want to take a look this morning at how one of the few God-fearing kings of Israel dealt with idol worship. 2 Kings chapter 18, verses 3 through 7. We're talking about King Hezekiah. It said he did what was right in the eyes of the Lord, just as his father David had done. He removed the high places, smashed the sacred stones, and cut down the acacia poles. He broke into pieces the bronze snake that Moses had made, for up to that time the Israelites had been burning incense to it. It was called Nehushtan. Hezekiah trusted in the Lord, the God of Israel. There was no one like him in all the kings of Judah, either before him or after him. He held fast to the Lord and did not cease to follow him. He kept the commands the Lord had given Moses, and the Lord was with him. He was successful in whatever he undertook, and he rebelled against the king of Syria and did not serve him. This king, King Hezekiah, removed anything that dealt with idol worship in the land. And not only did he remove it, but he destroyed everything so that it couldn't be put back up. Much like Moses did with the golden calf, Hezekiah wanted everyone to see that idol worship only leads to destruction. By getting rid of the idols, King Hezekiah was able to restore the true worship of the true God of Israel. So that it wouldn't be possible to just put the things back up. Hezekiah completely destroyed them. And he knew he had to destroy them. There was no other way around it. He had to completely destroy everything that was used for idol worship. Everything that Hezekiah found that could be considered an idol, whether it was an idol or not, but if it could be considered an idol, he completely destroyed it. His heart was focused on God.
Amen.
He wanted to follow God's leadership for the nation of Israel. And he did what was absolutely necessary to return Israel back to worshiping the true God. No matter where God led him, Hezekiah trusted that God wouldn't fail him. No matter where God led him, Hezekiah held fast and he followed. Even if he didn't like it. And because of his faithfulness to God, God gave Hezekiah success in everything that he did. And if we are willing to do the same thing, God will do the same for us. We need to identify anything that has become an idol to our worship and get rid of it. Removing it in a way that it can't be brought back. Even if that means we got to go out back and have a bonfire one day. We need to follow God's leadership, trusting Him as He leads us. We need to trust that there's a purpose for everything that He calls us to do. Even if it means removing an idol that has become taking place of God's place in our heart. If we focus more on it during our worship than we do our worship, it's an idol. If we are willing to let go of these idols, then God will give us success in everything that we do to reach our community with the gospel of Jesus Christ. Anything that becomes the focus of our worship, anything that takes our hearts or our minds off of worshiping God is an idol.
Amen.
We serve an awesome, loving God, but we also serve a jealous God. If something in our church is more important to us than the message of the gospel of Jesus Christ, it has become an idol. The Israelites insisted that Aaron make them an idol, and that's exactly what he did. When Moses confronted him, he blamed everybody and everything else, but took no blame upon himself. When we allow something to become so important that we get angry, or we get upset, or we get offended when it's moved, or when it's removed, or when it's changed, it has become an idol in our hearts. And if we allow our idol worship to continue, Christ will punish us for our sin by removing our influence, by helping us not to grow, and even shutting our doors. However, if like Moses and King Hezekiah we remove any idols, we return our worship to focusing on Christ, He will give us success in everything we do.
Amen.
First, we must identify and remove any and all idols that hinder our true worship of Jesus Christ. This morning I ask you, is there something that's an idol to you? Is there something in our church that upsets you if it gets moved, or if it gets removed, or if it gets changed? If so, it's an idol. We need to deal with it. We need to get rid of it. If anything in your personal life that takes your focus off your worship of Christ, if anything takes your focus throughout your week, takes your focus off of sharing the gospel message, it's an idol. You need to remove it from your life. Identify it, remove it, and get rid of it. Return your heart and your mind to the worship of our true God. If you want our church to have success in everything we do as we follow Christ's leadership, we'd better identify and we had better remove anything and everything that is an idol to anybody. It may not be an idol to you, but if it's an idol to somebody else, we better deal with it and get rid of it. As we prepare our hearts and we prepare our minds for the next several weeks for our revival, so what we need to focus on is how can we revive our church? What can we do? What do we need to do to help to get our church back on the path that Christ wants us to get on? And the first thing that we must do is identify and remove anything that is an idol of our worship.
Amen.